Discover 3 spine-chilling true horror stories of cursed lake houses, haunting secrets exposed. Sarah stood at the edge of the property, staring at the lake that glimmered under the late afternoon sun, but something felt wrong. The serenity of the water felt like a thin veil covering a dark secret. This new life, this supposed fresh start in Whispering Pines, seemed more like a cruel joke. Emma and Jake chased each other around the creaking house, their laughter echoing against the peeling paint, an unsettling melody that faded into whispers. Whispers that seemed to rise from the very lake itself, beckoning her closer. The town was quaint, but eerie. The families on the porches watched with a scrutinizing gaze that sent shivers down her spine. Eyes prying, judging. Their silence felt like a warning. As she walked through town, she could feel the weight of the stories hanging in the air like a dense fog. Tragedies, they whispered, disappearances. Her heart raced, wondering if those conversations were about the very house she now called home. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The more Sarah sought out answers, the deeper she fell into the legend of the lake. It was said that an ancient spirit lingered, seeking vengeance, tied to the tragic fates of families that had come before her. Yet all she wanted was peace for Emma and Jake. As night fell, shadows flickered at the edge of her vision, and her heart dropped. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching, something alive in the dark. Then there was Johnny, the imaginary friend. At first, Sarah chuckled, but the manic joy in her children's voices echoed eerily against the quiet night. She'd catch glimpses of their hushed conversations, giggles amidst the unsettling silence, and her unease swelled. What was Johnny? An innocent figment? Something more sinister? The sound of something tapping on the window sent Sarah's heart racing. Was it just the wind, or was it a warning? Insomnia clawed at her, and the whispers turned into frenzied murmurs as if the walls were alive with stories begging to be heard. But no, she couldn't be losing her mind. She took a deep breath, trying to silence the echoes that grew louder. But that night, when she awoke to find Emma and Jake missing, terror gripped her like icy fingers. Jake! Emma! Panic surged as she rushed through every room, every corner of the house, heart pounding like a drum. As she burst outside, the storm rolled in, clouds swallowing the moonlight. There stood Mark, her neighbor, his crooked smile now twisted with something that felt ominous. Looking for the kids? He asked, his tone too casual, too knowing. Sarah's instincts screamed. As she stared at the dark water's edge, what lurked beneath was all too clear. Her own community was not just a group of watchers, they were entangled in this lake's twisted past. As shadows danced and swirled near the shore, the chilling truth hit her. Was she bringing her children into a trap? The lake churned, dark and beckoning, and Sarah cried out, panic etched on her face, "Where are my kids?" But the whispers grew louder, drowning her cries. In the darkness, she could feel the presence rising, an entity ready to claim those it had lost. Would she be too late to save Emma and Jake from the community's dark ties? As the water bubbled ominously, Sarah realized this was just the beginning of a nightmare she couldn't escape. The storm unleashed its fury, tearing through the night. Rain sliced through the air, soaking Sarah's clothes, but she felt no chill, just the icy grip of fear wrapping tightly around her. The howling wind and pounding rain drowned her frantic calls, stealing away each desperate echo of Jake. Emma. Mark stood, a statue against the storm, his face twisted into an unsettling smirk. You can't find them, can you? He taunted, voice cutting through the chaos like a serrated knife. His words were an echo of her deepest fears, and a sick realization washed over her. He knew something she didn't. Where are they? She shouted, straining to meet his gaze, her heart racing as dread coiled tighter in her chest. With each second that passed, shadows on the lake grew more pronounced, creeping closer, as if they were alive. The moon broke through the clouds for just a moment, illuminating the surface, revealing dark shapes moving beneath. Down there, he said, nodding toward the water, they're just playing. The innocence in his tone felt like a cruel joke, twisting her gut tighter. Sarah's mind raced, images flashing through her thoughts, stories of lost children, families ripped apart, a haunting legacy that danced across the surface of the water. Johnny, did he beckon her children? Was he an innocent friend or something darker, feeding off the joy of her kids, luring them deeper into danger? No! She screamed, panic constricting her throat. She turned toward the lake, the dark water now closer, the sounds of thrashing laughter echoing through her mind. A child's innocent delight turned sinister. The whispers morphed into wails, as if the lake itself took on a voice, pleading for her to listen. Suddenly, an almighty crash rang out, as a surge of water splashed over the bank, drawing her attention back to Mark. His eyes flickered with an eerie gleam, a hunter reveling in the chase. "Join the fun, Sarah," he hissed, his voice low and hollow, "the children are waiting for you." Sarah stumbled back, fighting the urge to flee. She stood at the edge, torn between diving into the icy lake and the insidious presence of the clouds that loomed over Mark. The air felt electric, charged with a palpable terror that coiled around her heart. "Come, just a little closer," Mark beckoned, his crooked smile stretching wider, revealing too many teeth. An unnatural cold seeped through the air, something dark and ancient lurked just below the surface, waiting to rise. Then, a glimmer of movement caught her eye, a flash of blonde hair. "Mommy!" It was Emma's voice, sweet yet frantic, drifting from the lake in distorted echoes. Her heart cracked open, a flood of hope and dread mixing within her. But where was Jake? "Mommy!" Emma's voice called again, stronger this time, bubbling with laughter that chilled Sarah to the bone. "Where is Jake?" Sarah shouted back into the storm, the water swirling wickedly now, forming shapes that mimicked arms reaching up. With each second, time crumbled. The protective mother within her clashed violently with the instinct to run from the danger, yet she felt herself leaning toward the water's edge. "Sarah!" Mark's voice turned more grave, he might not want to come back. The wind shrieked, drowning out her thoughts. She teetered on the brink of decision, staring into those depths. The beckoning laughter almost drowned out the consuming anxiety. Would she dive in, risking everything to save one child, or would she stay and fight Mark, jeopardizing them both? "Mommy!" The voice, so close yet so far away, drew her dangerously close to the water's edge. The lake churned violently, summoning her into the dark depths. A ripple spread across the surface, and Sarah's heart leapt into her throat. What lay beneath? What would she uncover if she gave in? As she swayed precariously above the darkened chaos, a sudden realization pierced through her fear. Something wasn't right. When did she last see Jake? The storm raged on, the shadows whispering promises of salvation and doom. With every breath, the question loomed, piercing through the howl of the wind. What price would she pay to find her children? And in that moment of chaos, as she blinked back tears, a loud splash erupted, sending water spraying into the air. The next moment, a shrill scream echoed across the lake. Sarah. Panic clawed at Sarah's insides, tightening like a noose as she spun toward the lake. A mixture of hope and dread flooded her. The scream hadn't come from Emma. It echoed across the dark, crashing waves like a warning bell. Where was Jake? "Mommy! Help!" Emma's voice rang out again, but it was laced with fear, curdling the warmth of earlier laughter. The water rippled violently, wild and angry, almost as if it were alive. Behind her, Mark watched with a smirk that twisted her stomach. He thrived on her suffering, feeding off her desperate energy like a feral beast. The wind howled in response, a mournful symphony that chilled her to the bone. "You have to choose, Sarah," Mark crooned, stepping closer, almost lost in the shadows. "Do you save the one who calls, or the one who has lost?" He leaned in, dropping his voice to a whisper, almost teasing. "Perhaps Jake has already found a better friend." "No. Stop." Her chest tightened as her heart pounded against her ribcage. She fought the urge to scream back at him, to lash out, but the lantern of hope flickered in her mind, each flash igniting on the sinister reality encasing her. The dark waves crashed higher, as if assessing her, taunting her resolve. Had Emma lured Jake in? Or had he fallen prey to the deceptive whispers now surrounding her? A heavy silence fell, punctured only by the sporadic crack of thunder. She took a step back from the edge, her instincts flaring in warning. The dark shapes had become clearer now, shadows roiling and shifting below the surface, reaching, stretching, grasping. Each second passed with agonizing slowness. "So close," Mark whispered, and she could feel his breath on her neck, foul with malice. "Sarah." Emma's voice faltered, replaced by gurgled echoes that resonated under the water, like cries for help morphed into something sinister. Her daughter's laughter echoed again, a sound that now made her skin crawl. With a desperate lunge, Sarah turned her back to the lake, ready to fight Mark, but he was gone. The realization hit her with a jolt: the man who taunted her was a mere distraction, and the real horror lurked beneath the murky depths. She had to save Emma, and she had to reach Jake. Her mind raced, calculating. "I'll dive in." She screamed into the storm, her voice breaking against the wind. "You'll regret it if you take my children." The laugh that echoed from the depths wasn't Emma's. It curled around her thoughts, chilling her blood and rooting her feet to the ground. "Stop!" She shouted again, and this time the plea was mingled with terror. She whirled around, searching for Mark, but the shadows were thicker now, closing in like a thick mist. Suddenly, she was grabbed from behind, cold hands encircling her wrists, yanking her backward. She stumbled, falling to the mud-soaked ground, but the grip held firm. "No! Let me go!" She cried out, fighting to pull free. "Mummy!" Emma's voice came from the water, trembling and distorted, sending icy tendrils of dread throughout Sarah's body. "Let go!" Panic surged through her veins as the shadow seemed to grow, morphing into an indistinguishable mass of limbs and eyes beneath the water's surface. She scanned the depths frantically. "Jake!" But before the fear could cloud her thoughts completely, a shape surged upwards, breaking the surface backlit by the cracking sky. It was small and thrashing, and as it gasped for breath, Sarah's heart shattered. It wasn't Emma, it wasn't Jake. It was something else entirely, half human, half shadow, pulled ominously from the depths. And it was looking right at her. "Sarah!" A chilling whisper echoed from its lips, an unholy fusion of the children's voices, drowning her in despair. As the grotesque figure began to emerge, Sarah's scream merged with the roar of the storm, and the shadows enveloped her in darkness. What terrible price awaited her if she dared to enter the lake, now possessing secrets too horrifying to comprehend? "Mommy!" A tentative hand reached toward her, shadows writhing around it, beckoning yet threatening. Could Sarah fight the darkness and uncover the truth, or would she surrender to the terror beneath the waves? Sarah's breath hitched in her throat. The figure lingered beneath the water's surface, its eyes glinting like shards of glass. Sarah! It breathed again, the wind carrying the sound like an eerie whistle through the trees, rippling across the dark canvas of the night. The air was thick with tension, cutting deeper than the howling wind. Desperation clawed at her. "Emma!" she cried, the name tearing from her throat, the panic rising like bile. She had to fight. She had to break free. That twisted laughter imprinted on her mind, Mark's voice, dark and taunting. The grip on her wrists tightened, cold as ice. She twisted violently, struggling to break free, and the shadow thing glided closer, the watery veil parting like a curtain, revealing more of its grotesque form. A half-formed face, a grim reflection of everything she held dear, hovered above the waters. Suddenly, Madeline appeared out of the tempest, her silhouette framed by lightning. "Sarah!" she shouted, eyes wide with fear. "What is happening? Get back!" Sarah screamed, but Madeline moved forward, drawn towards the writhing shadows beneath the waves. I can help." "No. You don't understand." "It's not," but words fell silent as the shadow lunged, a sinewy arm breaking the lake's surface, reaching for Madeline. The air felt electric, thick with impending doom. Madeline froze, eyes locked on the harrowing figure. "What is it?" Her voice trembled, a mixture of disbelief and horror. "It's like them," Sarah gasped, realizing with a dreadful clarity. "It wants to lure you in to take you. Just like Jake and Emma." With renewed strength, Sarah ripped her wrists free from the icy grip and surged toward the water's edge. She was done with running. Grabbing a loose branch, she swung it at the figure, splashing water as if striking a beast lurking below. The creature recoiled, howling in confusion. The mournful chorus of Emma and Jake blended with its cries, a cacophony that rattled Sarah's mind. "Mommy!" echoed again, but the voice twisted with the agony of all its imprisoned playmates. "Stay back!" Madeline shouted, her gaze flicking between Sarah and the lake. "We have to go." But how could she? Emma was out there, Jake was out there. Sarah felt her heart splinter, each beat full of dread and yearning. Desperate, she locked eyes with the shadow, determination sparking deep within her. "What do you want?" she yelled, forcing strength into her voice. "What do you want from us?" Freedom, the word wove through the storm, laced with a sinister echo. "Join us never!" Sarah shouted, the noise swallowed by thunder. She waded further into the water, shivers racing through her body. She had to face this horror, had to confront the source of her nightmare. "If you want to take someone, then take me." The shadow shuddered, pulsing with an ominous energy. "Take you, leave them," voices whispered, layered, screeching like sirens. Madeline watched in horror as Sarah began to sink into the depths, fighting against the pull of the violent waves. No! She couldn't lose her. With a guttural scream, Madeline dashed forward, fighting the current to reach Sarah before the darkness could claim her. "Hold on!" she shouted, panic mounting with every struggling breath. Just as Madeline grasped Sarah's fingers, an explosion of terrifying energy erupted from the depths, pulling them both down like an unseen vortex. Heart racing, Sarah struggled to breathe against the crushing weight of unknown terror. The shadows formed a barrier around them as gales howled above, and Sarah's mind raced. In this moment, there was no turning back. This was about survival, about family, about the choice she had foolishly made. "What do we do?" Madeline's face was pale, eyes wide with fear as the chilling grip of the abyss tightened around them. "Believe!" Sarah gasped, gasping for air, the voices surging in deafening chorus around them. "Believe in the light. If we're going to fight this, we have to do it together." But the shadows only responded with a chilling laughter, echoing around them, spreading and consuming. "You cannot win." What if Sarah's mind worked? Rapidly, piecing together a fragile plan. What if we turn it against itself? Madeline blinked in confusion, and the shadow's laughter crescendoed, mocking them. But then a flicker of conviction ignited within Sarah, a stubborn flame determined to burn through the darkness. Before they could plot their next move, the lake bubbled ominously beneath their feet, and the shadow wriggled closer, looming with insatiable hunger. "Together!" Sarah shouted as the shadows lunged for them. But would their combined will be enough to fight back against the titanic darkness awakening beneath? As the water closed in, Sarah's heart raced with unanswered questions, caught between fear and fierce hope. What would they unleash in battle, and could they find a way to silence the screams once and for all? The darkness enveloped them, water rushing past their ears, a terrible hush where panic should reign. Heartbeats thundered like war drums, the shadows drawing closer, hungry and relentless. Sarah could feel the icy fingers of despair wrapping tightly around her chest. The laughter grew louder, mocking their feeble instincts to resist. Sarah. Madeline's voice pierced the chaos, fostering a flicker of connection amidst the suffocating dark. But how long could their closeness last? The shadow was a merciless beast, hungry for despair. A thought jabbed at Sarah's mind. We use the memories, the happy times. Madeline's face twisted in confusion as they struggled against the water's terrifying grip. What memories? Remember the campfire? Sarah shouted, concentrated on them while trying to fight against plunging into darkness. The laughter, the stories. We can't let it drown us in their pain. Madeline's eyes flashed with recognition. They needed to turn the tables, clutch at the light that still lingered between the threads of horror. Okay. Madeline's voice rose, brimming with newfound resolve. Think of the warmth. Think of Emma. As they wrestled desperately within the swirling abyss, Sarah conjured laughter, her daughters giggling at the cracks of firelight, warm chocolate hands smudged with marshmallow. It poured through her like a cascade, pushing back against the gnashing teeth of the shadows. Emma. Come on. Madeline cried, forcing the memories to bloom. This isn't your home. The lake cannot have you. Suddenly, a soft glow bubbled up inside of them, flickering against the blackness, igniting in tandem with a rising chorus of their shared strength. The shadow hissed, recoiling, its laughter faltering, shameful. More. Sarah shouted, her voice rising above the commotion, flicking through their minds for more cherished moments: a picnic in the sun, a birthday party, Emma refusing to share her favorite toy. The shadow throbbed, its form wavering, all the voices blending into a desperate plea. Happy. You must be happy. Sarah urged, brow furrowing with fierce determination. And together they dove back into the ocean of memories, breathless and consumed but evolving stronger. Join us. The shadow shrieked, the twisting darkness now full of urgent dread. You cannot win. But instead of surrendering, they latched onto the simplest joys: the smell of fresh-baked cookies, the warmth of a family hug, the sound of Emma's laughter ringing like a bell through a quiet room. Madeline's face glistened with resolve. It's all we need. Together, we can drown this thing in joy. The shadow writhed and recoiled, as if unable to comprehend such vibrant emotion. The waters around them bubbled with the energy pulsing from their unity, resentment surging into flames of joy. A barrier of light flickered into existence, pushing back against the insatiable hunger of the shadow. But just as they thought they were breaking through the surface, a sinister roar erupted from below. The lake trembled violently, churning and seething as if its very foundations were shaken. Remember, their strength lies in our disbelief. The darkness sported a torn voice, hinting at remnants of the lost souls that remained trapped. You cannot sever the bond. We're not afraid. Sarah screamed, the words igniting a light between them, spilling courage into the wild tempest. With one final surge, they pressed against the darkness as if swimming towards the sun. This ends tonight. Madeline yelled, hands clasped tightly, squeezing Sarah's as the shadow writhed and howled, its power flickering like a dying ember. But just then, a shrill wail erupted, breaking the moment. The water crashed violently, and from its depths something more sinister was rising. Don't look down. Trust in each other. Sarah screamed as a new presence emerged, cutting through their hope like a knife. The source of all the nightmares loomed above, an echo of faces, voices, twisted memories of every shadow that ever sank beneath those cursed waters. As the darkness recoiled, mother and friend prepared to face the endgame, knowing they might finally take their stand or be consumed by despair. Would they find the strength to conquer the engulfing horror, or would the lamenting voices beneath the murky surface claim them forever? The air thickened with dread, the shadows writhing like serpents above them. Sarah's heart raced, each beat echoing the chaotic pulse of the dark waters that felt alive, hungry and relentless. She could see the twisted faces emerging from the abyss, yearning, trapped and tortured. Would they recognize her? Would they call her name? The darkness grew colder, pressing down on them, each second stretching painfully. Madeline's grip tightened, her fingers trembling in fear. "What do we do?" she gasped, panic bubbling beneath the surface of her facade. "Remember the memories," Sarah shouted, desperation clawing at her throat. "We need more." The twisted faces in the depths seemed to distort, shifting before their eyes. They reached out, desperate yet pleading, drawing closer with every flinch. Voices echoed around them, a cacophony of sorrow-lost hopes, abandoned dreams. Sarah pushed against the suffocating wave of despair, desperately conjuring images that linked them back to the light. "Think! Think!" Madeline yelled. The ice cream truck. 4th of July fireworks. The joy of Emma's first dance recital. And for a fleeting moment, the warmth washed over them. Each memory sparkled like sunlight on the lake waters, a protective shield against the creeping dread. But it wasn't enough. As the shadow mouths gaped wider, their laughter turned into jeering mockery, surging awareness that reminded them how fragile their memories truly were. "We're stronger together." Madeline's voice rose above the chaos, firm with conviction. "Focus on what matters. This can't be our fate." With each breath, they forced true joy into existence. Laughter echoed, the air shifting as hope shimmered in the depths. But the shadow surged again, a monstrous weight pulling them down. "Feel our pain," it hissed, heavier than before. "You can't escape this bond." The water boiled around them, the nauseating stench of rot filling their lungs, choking their joy. Sarah felt the room around them warp, the area growing dimmer as more faces emerged, each darker, more suffering than the last. They were not just creatures of shadow, they were souls, lost and yearning to escape as much as she and Madeline. "I want to let this happen," Sarah screamed, tears stinging her eyes. "We have to fight back. Keep digging for the light." Madeline's determination flickered but didn't extinguish. "Think of Emma. Imagine her smile. Her joy. We hold the power." With that, they reached for the sunniest moments, renewing each memory with fervor. The way Emma ran through fields of daisies, the bright blue sky painted a perfect summer day, simple joys anchoring them deeper into their shared reality. But as they summoned the light, the darkness erupted in a spine-chilling wail, shaking the very fabric of their existence. "You cannot fight us. We are all that remains." The waters churned, angry and unyielding. Shadows coalesced into grotesque shapes, hands grasping, hoping to pull them under, away from the cherished memories that flickered like dying stars. "Hold on!" Madeline yelled, diving deeper into her spirit, searching for a tap into their purest joy. "Just a bit more." It was then, amid the chaos, an unfamiliar whisper broke through. "Find me." The voice was soft yet twisted, pulling at Sarah's consciousness like a thread unraveling. "Who's there?" she demanded, swallowing her fear, uncertainty clawing at her resolve. Was it a trick, another gameplay of the lake's cursed history? But the hidden clarity rippled through her. "Find me. Trust the light." Madeline turned, eyes wide, gleaming with realization. That voice. It's guiding us. We need to follow. And with that haunting invitation hanging in the air, they braced themselves. With the darkness pressing down, they dove deeper, into the heart of the lake where memories might still be alive, where silver strands of hope could be uncovered. What lay beneath the tumultuous depths? What darkness awaited them? As they pushed forward, each heartbeat resonated louder, echoing questions that grew ever more ominous. The water enveloped them, cold and suffocating. Sarah's eyes darted, trying to pierce through the inky darkness. Every swirl of shadow threatened to pull them into deeper despair. She could almost feel the appendages of lost souls grasping for her, their anguish chilling her to the marrow. "You hear it too, right?" Madeline murmured, her voice trembling, barely breaking the oppressive silence. "The whispering, it's getting louder." With each sound echoing around them, Sarah concentrated hard, focusing past her panic. She tried to ignore the dread clawing at her heart. We have to listen," she insisted, her voice steadier than she felt. "They want us to find them. They know something." Madeline nodded, swallowing hard, but doubt flickered in her eyes. The shadows seemed to sense their flickering hope, curling closer, groaning with the weight of despair. "What if we're just walking into a trap? Just trust me," Sarah urged, the words tumbling out in a rush. "We're not here to listen to them wallow. There's something deeper that's calling us. We have to keep moving." With renewed determination, they surged into the choking depths, forcing memories back into focus. Flickers of warmth guided them, Emma giggling beneath a sunlit sky, the scent of fresh popcorn at the movies, snuggled nights reading fairy tales. Each thought sent out ripples in the dark water, pushing back against the encroaching shadows. The whisper morphed into a soft chant, a symphony of beckoning promises wrapped in urgency. Find me, they stumbled upon a dark figure in the murky water, one they hadn't seen before. It hung there, a distorted creature filled with sorrow, its eyes two glowing abysses. In an instant, a flurry of shadows erupted, swirling fiercely around them. "Let them come!" Sarah shouted, filling her voice with strength she didn't quite feel. "We know your pain. But we're not here to join it." A surge of brightness flooded their minds, igniting the fragments of hope strewn through their pasts. Echoes of laughter intertwined with the shadows, fusing together in a haunting dance. The darkness recoiled momentarily, the anguished faces twisting in anger and betrayal. "You think you can escape?" the shadowed figure screeched. "You think you control this?" The water trembled, mimicking the rage of the darkness, and Sarah felt it rise like a tide of despair. Clenching her fists, she recalled every joyful moment, forcing them to the surface. "We are not your prisoners. You can't hold us." Madeline's resolve burned beside her. "We will uncover your truth. We will face whatever darkness drives you." As if stirred by their defiance, the figure lunged forward, its gnarled hand reaching to pull them closer. Heart pounding, Sarah cried out, "Follow my voice. We're not afraid." Madeline squeezed her hand tighter, their fear solidifying into a powerful bond. The air crackled as the spirit writhed, trying to breach the fragile wall of memories holding them. "Fight back!" They shouted in unison, forcing every memory, every ounce of strength against the oppressive weight pulling them under. And then, just as they felt the cold grasp of eternity wrap around them, a radiant light tore through the darkness, illuminating the twisted faces, revealing not just anguish, but pain intertwined with hope. But then, the light shimmered dangerously, flickering like a faulty bulb. The shadows groaned, an ominously familiar whisper echoing through the tumult, "You cannot save what was never yours to begin with." For a heartbeat, everything was still. Sarah and Madeline were caught in the balance between past and present, light and dark. And just like that, the whisper stretched, weaving a chilling web of uncertainty, drawing them back toward the depths. What truth lay in that haunting echo? What awaited them beneath the surface? As the shadows roared back to life, they were drawn toward the light, toward the truth they desperately sought. But they could only beg for salvation as they plunged deeper into the horrid abyss. Could they uncover the secrets buried in the lake? Or would they become the next lost souls, ensnared in the shadows forever? The world around them dimmed, the only light flickering inconsistently, as though even the brightness feared the encroaching shadows. They were no longer sure if they were moving toward hope or only deeper into despair. Each whisper was sharper now, more desperate, clawing at their minds like icy fingers. "Sarah, I can't breathe," Madeline gasped, the cold water now rising to their necks. panic surged anew. Sarah felt her heart race, the blood pounding in her ears like a war drum. "No! We will not drown here!" she shouted, forcing herself to sound strong. "Keep holding my hand." With every ounce of strength, they pushed through the oppressive darkness, focusing on the promise of the faint glimmer ahead. Shadows writhed, seeking them, pulling at their limbs like insistent tides. The air thickened, laced with a heavy dread. "Look!" Sarah pointed, feeling exhilaration and fear mixed together. A silver reflection danced just beyond reach, shimmering with a mind of its own. "That has to be it. We're close." Madeline's eyes widened, and she managed a weak nod. But just as they surged toward it, the shadowed figure surged along with them, its gnarled fingers stretching, reaching for their throats. "You can't escape!" it howled, a cacophony of rage. The girls froze, fright flashing through their eyes. That voice, it was familiar somehow, a haunting echo of someone they once knew. Different images collided in their minds, memories trying to resurface but tangled up in shadows. They couldn't afford that, they couldn't afford to falter now. "Don't listen!" Sarah screamed, turning her focus inward, hunting for the light that lived within her. "It's feeding on our fear." "Hold on, Madeline." Suddenly, the bitter chill wrapped tighter around them, squeezing the very breath from their lungs. Shadows transformed, shifting mass and shape, swirling in chaotic anger. Madeline shook her head violently, eyes darting. "Sarah! They're not just shadows. They were people. Look!" She followed Madeline's gaze, horrified as the darkness peeled away to reveal flickering profiles, faces twisted in anguish, hollow eyes pleading for release. Each visage echoed the broken stories of loss and despair that dragged them into the depths. "We can't." Sarah swallowed hard, forcing herself to keep speaking. "We came to offer hope, not to join your misery." "Hope?" A voice slithered through the air, wrapping around them, tugging at their resolve. "Hope is a lie." The rage surged again, a wave of shadows crashing, pulling them down. Madeline screamed, the sound cutting through the liquid darkness. "Fight it!" Sarah screamed, grasping Madeline's hands tight, anchoring them both. "Remember Emma. Remember the joy. We will not drown in this despair." With every ounce of willpower, Sarah and Madeline ignited their memories, visions of laughter and warmth fueling the glow within. Colors burst around them, bright and vivid, pushing against the all-consuming black. Gradually, the shadows hissed and recoiled, but not without leaving a shredding fear in their wake. "You think you can illuminate the truth?" The shadowed figure sneered, bitterness dripping like poison. "You will always remain lost." As the darkness surged once again, they felt the shimmering glint of the truth they sought, a truth buried deep within the lake's depths, perhaps waiting for them to acknowledge its existence. Everything rattled, the water shaking violently beneath them as if alive with a malicious intention. "Go!" Sarah called, her voice filled with a new urgency, one that bore an imprint of both fear and determination. "We can't turn back now." Together, they plunged forward, the light they chased no longer a glimmer on the surface but a radiant force pushing through the abyss. With a final surge, they shot toward where hope shimmered, only to hear one last chilling whisper, "You'll regret this choice. Your past is waiting." What awaited them on the brink of truth? Would they find the answers they longed for, or were they simply trading one fate for another? As they broke through the water's surface, gasping for air, the chilling reminder echoed in their minds: some truths were meant to remain buried. The surface of the lake erupted into cold air, wrapping around them like a sudden embrace. Sarah's lungs burned as she struggled to inhale, but her heart raced with exhilaration. They were alive, but the ominous chill still lingered. "Madeline!" she cried, panic creeping back in as she scanned for her friend. "Where are you?" Madeline surfaced, spluttering, water streamed down her face. "I'm here, I'm okay." But her voice was shaky, laced with a shuddering fear that made the hairs on Sarah's neck stand up. They swam frantically to the shore, arms moving against the current that felt alive, pressing down with a weight they couldn't comprehend. The shore appeared, but it was no sanctuary. The landscape was twisted, the trees gnarled and ominous, as if the very ground had been corrupted. Shadows danced malevolently in the moonlight, contorting into shapes that sent Sarah's heart racing. Why does it feel like it's all around us? Madeline's question hung in the air, heavy with despair as the darkness unfurled around them. We need to find that light, Sarah urged. It has to be here somewhere a way out. They stumbled forward, feet sinking into the damp earth, every crackle of twigs echoing like whispers of ghosts wanting to drag them back into the depths. The feeling of eyes watching from the shadows was suffocating. Sarah's breath quickened, each inhale sharp like a shard of glass. Then, they spotted it. A flicker aglow situating within a large, derelict cabin just beyond the tree-line. Its windows shone with a beckoning warmth, an anomaly amidst the shadows. But there was no time for hesitation. They exchanged a glance, knowing instinctively their only chance was there. As they raced toward it, an eerie song carried on the wind, a melodic whisper that curled around them, full of sadness and loss. Sarah felt an unsettling tug in her mind. "Don't listen," she murmured, forcing her focus forward. Madeline's startled expression told her she felt it too. Shadows skittered just beyond the edges of the glow, writhing, clawing, threatening to close in again. The sound grew louder, a chorus of mournful cries, words they couldn't decipher but felt deep in their bones. "Almost there!" Sarah shouted, her voice straining. And then it happened. The air thickened, palpable as if the shadows themselves were one creature, hungry and alive. It surged toward them, howling like a possessed beast, threatening to engulf everything they had fought to escape. Just as they reached the door, it slammed shut. The light inside flickered like a dying candle. "No! Please!" Madeline shouted, pounding on the weathered wood. "Let us in." The door didn't budge. A chilling laughter escaped from within, a cruel amusement that sent a jolt of cold fear through them. "You think you can escape your past?" mocked a voice, slithering through the cracks. It was the same voice that had taunted them in the water, mocking their efforts. "Are we even safe here?" Madeline whispered, eyes wide. "Listen to me." Sarah gripped her shoulders. "If we don't find the truth, this darkness will consume us. There has to be a way." Suddenly, a window swung open. They rushed toward it, peering inside. The light illuminated a room filled with photographs, faces twisted in despair, staring back at them. The same faces they'd seen in the shadows, eyes pleading, mouths whispering secrets. Madeline stepped back, horror flooding her. What are these?" She started to tremble, the strength in her legs failing. "Those they were once like us," Sarah said, icy dread creeping in. "But they got trapped in here, just like we might." An oppressive silence blanketed them, the laughter transformed into sorrowful cries, each sound surrounding them like a net, drawing tighter. Sarah Madeline's voice was barely a whisper. "What if the past we are running from isn't what we think?" The shadows closed in around them, choking their voices. They stood, trembling, trapped between the light they craved and the darkness that sought to claim them. As fear gripped their hearts, the shadows whispered of ancient atrocities, leaving them teetering on the edge of revelation or horror. "Can we face what lies ahead?" Sarah breathed, the look in Madeline's eyes saying everything. They had to decide. Would they enter that cabin, confront the crafted fabric of their past, or turn and succumb to the darkness? But no matter what choice they made, they knew one thing: something was waiting in the depths. And it wouldn't wait long. The cabin door creaked ominously as Sarah and Madeline nudged it open, prying through the darkness that clouded their hearts. The light inside flickered like a flame about to be snuffed out, revealing walls lined with old photographs and mementos, all drenched in an aura of sadness, each relic heavy with sorrow. "Look at them," Madeline whispered, stepping closer to a picture hanging crookedly on the wall. It was a family, smiling brightly against the backdrop of the lake, but the joy in their eyes was marred by the tragedy that loomed in the air. "They were happy once," Sarah murmured, dread coiling in her stomach, but it all changed. Something took them. The wind howled outside, a mournful cry that echoed their fear. Shadows danced in the corners of the room. The air felt thick with despair, pushing down on them like an oppressive weight. "We can't let it take us too," Sarah said, resolute. Just then, the room trembled, and the shadows twisted, morphing into various faces of the trapped souls they had seen in the water, each one contorted in anguish, reaching toward them with pleading eyes. "You must listen," a voice cried, soft yet sorrowful, coming from within the walls. "No!" Sarah shouted, shaking her head, fighting the overwhelming surge of despair that threatened to swallow her. "We don't want to join you." The voices surged, echoing with the pain of lost loves, of childhood laughter stolen. But in that moment of turmoil, Sarah felt a spark, a memory shaped like a lighthouse amid a storm. Images of Emma's joyous laughter flooded her mind, each one battling against the heartbreak surrounding them. "Madeline," she urged, desperation threading through her voice. "Think of the light. We have to believe it exists." Madeline's eyes widened, the flicker of hope igniting within her as she grasped Sarah's hand tightly. "We have to pull through together," she exclaimed, nodding vigorously. "Let us face them." With newfound determination, they stepped into the room completely, plunging deeper into the memories that the shadows conjured. "What did you want from us?" Sarah shouted, her voice finding strength. The shadows lunged forward, forming a churning mass, swirling with anger. The air thickened with the sound of tormenting laughter. "Your fear is our solace," they hissed, their voices echoing sinister layers of grief. "Not anymore," Madeline shouted, her voice rising with conviction. "You do not own our fear." With every syllable, memories surged to the forefront: camping trips, music, laughter around a dinner table. Each joyous recall emanated warmth, pushing back against the lingering darkness. The shadows recoiled, the anguished cries fading momentarily as they were met with the vibrant joy radiating from the girls. "More!" Sarah shouted, fueling the torrent of memories that conspired to strengthen them. Each memory summoned a flash of light, surrounding them like a protective aura. "Let us break the cycle," Madeline added fiercely. As each memory swelled into the next, a small IKEA Christmas tree, the warmth of Emma's hand in hers, the last summer barbecue, the shadows began to dissolve at the base, pulling back as if the very essence of light repelled them. "We see you," Sarah proclaimed, locking eyes with the faces of despair. "We want to be your next victims." The room shook violently, as some shadows screeched in pure rage, desperately trying to drain that flickering warmth. "You cannot escape your past," the chorus yelled, but Sarah and Madeline held steady. "We are not afraid," Madeline countered, pulling tighter against Sarah. "We fight for hope. We fight for those who can't." With one final surge, they flared their voices together, shouting words of love, of laughter, a single thread unifying all their cherished moments into a singular force. The room erupted in light as the darkness screamed in torment. The darkness trembled, unraveling beneath their resolute spirit. The light blazed through the cabin, obliterating the shadows, drowning them in warmth. With a final shriek, the suffering souls began to emerge from the walls, their faces softening in relief as they dissolved into gentle whispers, a flood of gratitude washing over the space. "You freed us," they echoed, their voices harmonizing, merging into a soothing melody that spread through the cabin and beyond, their pain no longer chains of misery but whispers of a farewell. In that powerful moment, Sarah and Madeline gasped as the flood of warmth enveloped them, pulling them into the light. The cabin transformed around them, peeling away layers of despair, revealing a haven of peace that replaced the shadows. Heavy breaths transformed into relieved sighs as they found themselves back on the lakeside, the sun's golden rays warming their faces. The lake now sparkled with a different essence, almost joyful, reflecting the love that had triumphed over despair. "Sarah!" A familiar voice rang out, sweet and innocent. Emma burst forth from the trees, laughter bubbling as she raced to them, her golden hair sparkling like the sun. "Mommy!" The world felt whole again, the tumult and darkness replaced with precious laughter, memories that would never again be stolen. As they embraced, each heartbeat echoed with the resilience of love and hope, cementing the bond stronger than any dark shadow could ever wish to sever. They had faced the darkness, but now they found their way back into the light. With a warm hug, they made their way up the path, each step behind them beckoning freedom from burdens lost to the depths. The lake murmured softly, its secrets finally laid to rest, like whispers carried away by a gentle breeze. "Let us go home," Sarah breathed, a smile spreading across her face, her heart full, knowing that no matter the darkness that once lurked, the light of love would always prevail. As they journeyed forward, memories shimmered, vibrant and alive, each step projecting hope for endless tomorrows. Remember, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this thrilling conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this story.